Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on this grievance debate in relation to a number of issues that I'd like to raise. My home on the Gold Coast is defined by its natural beauty, its unmatched coastal lifestyle and its sense of community, an incredible sense of community. And it's no wonder that our region is one of the fastest growing regions in Australia. But with that growth comes some very real challenges. Challenges that cannot be ignored, delayed or dismissed. Our infrastructure, our housing supply and essential services must keep pace with the people who call the Southern Gold Coast home. During my very first day in this Parliament, I sat down with the Leader of the Opposition and the CEO of Experience Gold Coast, Mr John Warne, to ensure our city was front and centre of the national conversation. I'm pleased to say the Liberal leader was receptive, engaged and committed to working with us on practical solutions for our city's future. Deputy Speaker, it's important that our city has a long-term vision, a plan that manages population growth and tourism by planning smarter and investing strategically. And as we look to the future of public transport in our city, interconnectivity is key. The Southern Gold Coast cannot be an afterthought in the government's infrastructure map. We must be better connected to the rest of southeast Queensland. I've spoken many times before about the extension of the heavy rail from Varsity Lakes all the way to Coolangatta, with stops at Burleigh Heads, Eleanora and going down towards the airport. That's a common sense project that would absolutely transform our region. I think about the many Southern Gold Coast locals who commute on a daily basis up to Brisbane. They, at the moment, have to get in their cars, drive to either Varsity Lake Station or Robina Station, park their cars and then get on the train on the heavy rail to Brisbane. Now, this would remove that congestion on our roads and in particular on the M1 as well. And it would not only support those Brisbane commuters, but it would also provide direct access to the Gold Coast Airport, which is one of the nation's fastest growing gateways. And that means we will finally have a situation where people can land in the Gold Coast and be able to commute directly to Brisbane. This extension would take cars off the road, it would connect people to jobs and tourism, and it would make the Southern Gold Coast a stronger, more livable community. Daily congestion continues to choke our roads and frustrate many residents. It affects tradies heading to work sites, parents on school runs, and visitors travelling to our beaches and local businesses. I really want to see upgrades that ease that congestion, that improve safety, and that support our growing community. And in a similar vein, another priority of mine is to see a solution to exit 82 on the M1. This is the double roundabouts, the notorious double roundabouts in front of the Robina town centre. It's an absolute traffic bottleneck and a single choke point which wastes thousands of hours in lost productivity each and every year. It creates a gridlock every day that affects local residents and businesses alike. The people of the Southern Gold Coast deserve infrastructure, and infrastructure investment that is based on need, not postcode politics. Now, Deputy Speaker, another issue that I would like to raise and touch on in this grievance debate is in relation to Medicare. Locals are currently telling me that access to a doctor, affordable medical care and the strain on our health system are top-level issues that face them and their families. And over the past year, bulk billing rates in my seat of McPherson on the Southern Gold Coast have fallen by 12%, making it harder for many people to see a GP without facing significant out-of-pocket costs. This decline is placing real pressure on households, particularly older Australians, young families and those managing chronic health conditions. Now, Deputy Speaker, it's disappointing to have a situation where We have people who have worked very hard and contributed to our economy and to our country, and they're now in a situation where they're having to choose between meals and medical care. Now, that's not the Australian way. Local GPs are telling me that the current funding arrangements are not keeping up with the rising costs of providing quality healthcare. And as a result, we're seeing more doctors being forced to stop bulk billing or limit the number of patients that they can see without fees. Now, I recall a time where the Prime Minister said that all you need to be able to see a doctor is your Medicare card. That's not the experience that we are seeing on the Southern Gold Coast. Locals need their credit card. And what this means is that we are seeing longer wait times, higher fees, and more people putting off getting important medical treatment. Affordable and accessible healthcare has always been a fundamental part of the Australian way of life. Every individual deserves proper healthcare, and no one should have to choose between paying household bills and getting the help they need. Deputy Speaker, in the time I have left, I'd also like to touch on another issue that is important not only to people in my electorate of McPherson, but it's something that I get correspondence on and interactions with members of the broader Australian community in relation to. And this is the concept of government expenditure and even, dare I say it, government waste. We are experiencing a significant cost of living crisis in Australia. When I am out in my community, and I have had the opportunity to continue doing a number of listening posts at shopping centres, at the Burleigh Heads markets, at the beaches, people come up to me and speak about the issues that matter to them. And there is no doubt that individuals, that businesses are struggling at the moment, whether it's the increased costs of housing, the increased costs of renting a shop front, or whether it's the increases to prices at grocery stores. People are struggling and cost of living remains their number one concern. Now, at a time when we in Parliament and when a government is trying to, I guess, manage this, we are seeing government expenditure blow out of proportion. And there are a number of different instances which form a broader pattern of government waste that we have seen. Now, this week, it's quite timely for me to speak about this. We've seen the revelation of what's been happening with the bomb website, over $96 million for a website. And it's a website that we have received terrible user feedback from. That's one example of something that the government has done, which is wasting the hard-earned taxpayer dime. Everyday Australians, including those in my electorate, are frankly sick and tired of this kind of government waste. They work absolutely bloody hard, and the last thing they need is for the government or bureaucrats in Canberra to be wasting their money. One of the biggest frustration points for people in my community is in relation to the energy costs that they're experiencing at the moment. We've had a conversation through my office, and I've had the opportunity to go and meet with a number of small businesses, but there's one in particular in my electorate where they've seen electricity prices go as high as $7,000 a month.
Wow.
Now, that is something that is absolutely unconscionable, and I don't know how long businesses can deal with that. While that is happening, Chris Bowen's Climate Change and Energy Department has spent $350,000 on taxpayer money on diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives in the last 3 years alone, including $61,000 on an inclusion strategy and action plan. Now, that's just telling about Chris Bowen's priorities at a time when energy costs...
I'll just remind the member to use the Minister's correct titles, please.
That is telling of the Minister for Climate Change and Energy's priorities at a time when energy costs have risen by almost 40%. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, there are a number of issues I've wanted to touch on today, but this is a grievance debate, and we do have significant concerns in our community. As an opposition, we're always prepared to work constructively, but it's disappointing to see the direction that this government is taking us, and my community is bearing the brunt of it.